Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Gnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay. Canto 4, chapter 3, verse 12. Hmm. Did we read this? No. Pashya prayantir abhavanyayosito apyalankrita kanta sakha varutashaha yasam rajadbihi shiti kanthamanditam nabho vimanai kalhamsa pandubihi. Oh, never born. One who is never born. O blue-throated one. Not only my relatives, but also other women, dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments, are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. Here, Lord Shiva is addressed as Abhava, which means one who is never born, although generally he is known as Bhava, one who is born. Rudra, Lord Shiva, is actually born from between the eyes of Brahma, who is called Swayambhu, because he is not born of any human being or material creature, but is born directly from the lotus flower which grows from the abdomen of Vishnu. When Lord Shiva is addressed here as Abhava, this may be taken to mean one who has never felt material miseries. Sati wanted to impress upon her husband that even those who were not related to her father were also going, to say nothing of herself, who was intimately related with him. Lord Shiva is addressed here as blue-throated. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison and kept it in his throat, not swallowing it or allowing it to go down to his stomach. And thus his throat became blue. Since then he has been known as Neelakantha, or blue-throated one. The reason that Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison was for others' benefit. When the ocean was churned by the demigods and the demons, the churning at first produced poison. So because the poisonous ocean might have affected others who were not so advanced, Lord Shiva drank all the ocean water. In other words, he could drink such a great amount of poison for the others' benefit, and now, since his wife was personally requesting him to go to her father's house, even if he did not wish to give that permission, he should do so out of his great kindness. So again, all glories of Lord Shiva. Actually, in one way, actually, he is not never born, because Shambhu is the okay. In the spiritual world, there is Ishana. Ishana lives in a place which is called as Sadashiva Loka. He is called Sadashiva, always auspicious. And from him, and then that part of the that planet, half of it is in the spiritual world, half of it is in the material world, or at the border between material and spiritual worlds. This the There's a place called as Mahakaladama. So in that Mahakaladama, Ishana um, manifests as Sadashiva, and he appears as Shambhu in this material world. Uh, Shambhu So there's one Shambhu for all material universes. Like there is one Mahavishnu. Uh, and then that Shambhu then expands, or a portion of him appears from between the eyebrows of Brahma as Rudra. Mm. Rudra means Rudra is the one who actually destroys everything. Mm. So Ishana, Sadashiva, Shambhu, Ishana, Sadashiva are Vishnu Tattva. Shambhu is a manifestation or expansion of that Vishnu Tattva in this material world. And the Amsha of Shambhu is Rudra. Uh, So Shiva Tattva is very complex. So yeah, generally it's difficult to understand. So one way he's never born because he's not Shiva or Shambhu is not born. Um, but Rudra is born from between the eyes of Brahma. So he can say that Rudra is born, but Shambhu is not born. Mm. So here Prabhupada is saying when Lord Shiva is addressed here as Abhava, this may be taken to mean one who has never felt material miseries. Mm. So he's a very exalted. That is why there is another Tattva, Shiva Tattva. Mm. So he's neither Vishnu, but he is also not an ordinary Jiva. So though Rudra appears from between the eyes of Brahma, we should not think that Shiva is less inferior. Is inferior to Brahma. Because Brahma is a Jiva Tattva. Mm. But Shiva is higher than Jiva Tattva. But yeah, just like Lord appears from the womb of a mother for his pastimes, it can be thought of like that. So Sati here wanted to go to her father's house. So she was saying everybody is going. Other women are also going, not just relatives. And of course, blue throat, we know about this. How he drank up the whole poison. And little drops of that poison fell. And that is the source of all poison in this material world. All poisonous creatures like scorpion, snakes, etc. All of them got their poison from this little drops of poison that fell. But most of the poison was actually consumed by Shiva. So he became Nilakantha. He's so powerful. Mm. Yeah, so Sati here wanted to go home to her father's house. So she became emotional. She did not consider the um, complexity of the relationship between Shiva and Daksha and the repercussions that thereof. So she was just looking at all women going nicely dressed in nice clothes, decorated with ornaments. She got emotional, and she also wanted to go. So she's saying, so Prabhupada here is explaining that she's calling him all these names, specifically, oh, this Nilakantha, because he did that as for others' benefit. He drank that ocean of poison for others' benefit. So he's very kind. So out of that, he should go to his father-in-law's house out of his great kindness. So he should take her because he is very kind, and that was her reasoning. कथं सुतायाः पितृगेह कौतुकं निशम्य देहः सुरवर्यनेङ्गते अनाहुताप्यभियन्ति सौहृदं भर्तुर्गुरोर्देहकृतश्च केतनम्. O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. Of course, Shiva qualifies this. What kind of a friend should that be? Yeah. Others are understandable. Husband, guru, father, yeah, one can go without invitation. Uh, and this here she is reflecting the general nature of women in this material world who are attached to their family, father's house, parents' house. And there's also an important thing for devotees in Krishna consciousness. that we can understand that all the Sati's attachment to her father's house resulted in eventually, and her chastity and uh, mm, commitment to Lord Shiva eventually resulted in her giving up her body. She didn't have to give up her body if she had not gone to her father's house. So it is that attachment which actually resulted in that happening. So this material attachment is also something that we should look out. We should be wary about. तन्मे प्रसीदेदम् अमर्त्यवाञ्छितं कर्तुं भवान् कारुणिको बतार्हति त्वयात् त्वयात्मनोर्धेऽहम् अदभ्रचक्षुषा निरूपितामानुग्रहाण याचितः. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body. Uh, Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request. ऋषिरुवाच एवं गिरित्रः प्रिययाभिभाषितः प्रत्यभ्यदत्त प्रहसन् सुहृत्प्रियः संसारितो मर्मभिद उवाग ईशून् यान् आह को विश्वसृजां समक्षतः. The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailasa, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Daksha before the guardians of the universal affairs. Now, it's very important when we read these verses to read the purport, because when we read something like this, we will put ourselves in Shiva's position, and we will remember, when we remember somebody's malicious, heart-piercing speeches, it always comes out of material attachment, false ego, etc. Right? But actually, Shiva was remembering this not out of false ego or because of malice or envy or anger or any of those. It was out of compassion. So it's a very different thing, right? So that is why we cannot judge the actions of Vaishnavas. Uh, though it might look very much like ordinary human beings, and they act on a very different platform. So it's better not to assume reasons for actions of Vaishnavas, because it's only known to them and to Lord Krishna. Very, very inconceivable. So he's thinking, he's smiling, smilingly is replying. But at the same time, he remembered what is the state of mind of Daksha. Uh, what is Daksha's state of mind? How will he respond, react to the Sati? So he was thinking all this, but at the same time, he replied smilingly, because he's seeing, he knows what is going to happen. When Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Daksha, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly of the guardians of the universe. And remembering those words, he was sorry at heart. Although to please his wife, he smiled. He was sorry at heart, not because not because Daksha said anything to him, just that such a important personality did such a silly, foolish thing, act. So he felt sorry that what he did was wrong. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a liberated person is always in mental equilibrium in both the distress and happiness of this world. Therefore, the question may now be raised, why a liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of the words of Daksha. The answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Lord Shiva is Atma Rama, or situated in complete self-realization, but because he is the incarnation in charge of the material mode of ignorance, tamoguna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of the material world. But he is affected by the pleasure and pain of material world may not be for himself. The difference between the pleasure and pain of this material world and that of the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world, the effect is qualitatively absolute. What does this mean? In the spiritual world, the effect is qualitatively absolute, meaning whether there is pleasure or pain, actually it is pleasure only, because everything is done for the pleasure of the Lord. So even if there is pain, there is pleasure in that pain. For example, Yashoda Mata, binding Krishna, or Yashoda Mata's feeling of pain when Krishna is going to the forest. There's so much of pain, but there is pleasure in that pain. And the pleasure is the care or love towards Krishna. It might result in some kind of a pain, but eventually it is pleasure because it is for the pleasure of Krishna. So since everything that is happening is for the pleasure of the Lord, it is all qualitatively absolute. It is on the spiritual platform and it just actually gives pleasure at the end because it pleases Krishna. Therefore, one may feel sorry in the absolute world, but the manifestation of so-called pain is always full of bliss. For instance, once Lord Krishna in his childhood was chastised by his mother Yashoda and Lord Krishna cried. But although he shed tears from his eyes, this is not to be considered a reaction of the mode of ignorance, for the incident was full of transcendental pleasure. So we should understand this. In the material world, if there is tears, that is tamoguna. But in the spiritual world, even if there is tears, it is actually ananda. When Krishna was playing in so many ways, sometimes it appeared that he caused distress to the gopis, but actually such dealings are full of transcendental bliss. This is very difficult to understand, right? Um, so one way of understanding this, can somebody explain how this, even though even though there's distress, how is it actually transcended this? I explained, but if somebody can reword or paraphrase, how is it that in the spiritual world everything is bliss? It's important to understand this. Anybody? I just now explained. Okay, let me explain once more. See, in the spiritual world, everything is being done for the pleasure of the Lord. So, for example, if when Krishna is, um, let's take Mother Yashoda, it's easier to understand. When Mother Yashoda is so anxious about having all kinds of good stuff cooked for Krishna, because she's thinking, oh, he's my little boy. If he doesn't eat, he's going to starve, he's going to become weak, he'll go to the forest. So she is anxious. So that anxiety creates some kind of pain. And then because of that anxiety, she makes Krishna eat nicely. And when she makes Krishna eat nicely, she feels happy. But then again, she feels sad that Krishna is not eating them. Now, in all these, if you see the feeling, expression of feeling, is the pleasure of Krishna. Eventually, it is for Krishna has to eat nicely, Krishna has to be happy, Krishna has to be healthy. That is Mother Yashoda's feeling. So even though it results in some kind of a distress temporarily, it actually results in pleasure because it is for the pleasure of the Lord. So another example we can understand. So Janmashtami is coming up. Right now, all of us, we have started discussing about so many services, collecting Lakshmi, etc., etc. Now there might be so much of anxiety, there might be so much of effort, there might be some kind of pain, struggle, etc. But because it is for the pleasure of the Lord, none of these actually give us the kind of suffering that we'll experience because of material issues, material emotions. It's very different. There is struggle, but it is not that kind of a materially painful struggle. Because at the end of the day, we are doing everything for the pleasure of the Lord. And just by our sincere effort, uh, irrespective of what the result is, Krishna will be pleased. And we'll know that because we feel bliss when we put this effort for the Lord's pleasure. So even though there is so-called pain, it's all pleasure. It's all transcendental pleasure. Because first of all, it's not material. Second, everything is for the pleasure of Krishna and Krishna becomes pleased. So the devotee also becomes happy. That is the difference between the material and spiritual worlds. The spiritual world where everything is pure is pervertly reflected in the material world. Since everything in the spiritual world is absolute, In the spiritual varieties of apparent pleasure and pain, there's no perception other than eternal bliss. There's no perception other than eternal bliss. Whereas in the material world, because everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, there are feelings of pleasure and pain. So in one way, we can look at it saying that pleasure and pain are dualities because of the modes, so they don't exist in the spiritual world. At the same time, there is a semblance of material pleasure, but actually the other way around. There is spiritual pleasure and there's spiritual pain. They are they become perverted in this material world and result in so-called material pleasure and pain, which are dvandva, which is a duality. But in the spiritual world, because it's absolute, there's no duality. Pleasure or pain is also pleasure only, is also bliss. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although fully self-realized person, was in charge of the material mode of ignorance, he felt sorrow. Yeah, this sorrow is again not so much our kind of sorrow. Lord Shiva's sorrow is also different. That will be explained in future. But yeah, why did he have to feel any kind of sorrow? Because he's in touch with the modes. One and second is he's also the greatest of devotees, and devotees also even in the Uttamadhikaris also feel pain. Even those devotees in Brahmaloka also feel pain. Bhagavatam says that by seeing the pain of the people in this material world, they feel some pain due to compassion. So it's not the selfish kind of pain or pleasure that ordinary jivas experience. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, see here, Shiva is now being addressed as Bhagavan. It said, Bhagavatam says sometimes great personalities, great devotees are also addressed as Bhagavan, just to show how exalted their position is, but just doesn't mean that they are themselves Bhagavan. Because they represent some quality of Bhagavan, they can also be called Bhagavan. That's all. Vayoditam shobhanam eva shobhane anahuta apyaviyanti bandushu te yadyanutpadita dosha drishtayo baliyasanatmya madena manyuna. The great Lord replied, my dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him. So this is the condition. Condition is that a friend should not find fault on the bodily because of bodily identification, bodily conception. That's what Daksha did to Shiva. So Shiva is smilingly answering his wife. He's uh, calling him dear beautiful wife. Um, because she's saying something which is not completely accurate. They're saying, yeah, what you said is correct, that one can go to the house of a friend, father, spiritual master, mm, uh, or husband, if that person is not acting on the material platform. Lord Shiva could foresee that as soon as Sati reached her father's house, her father, Daksha, being too puffed up because of bodily identification, would be angry at her presence. And although she was innocent and faultless, he would be mercilessly angry towards her. Lord Shiva warned that since her father was too puffed up by his material possessions, he would be angry and this would be intolerable for her. Therefore, it was better that she not go. This fact was already experienced by Lord Shiva because although Lord Shiva was faultless, Daksha had cursed him in so many harsh words. So Shiva was not feeling sorry that Daksha had cursed him or that he had insulted him. He's feeling sorry that he's going to again find fault and become angry towards Sati. So as a husband, as a great devotee, uh, in due to various ways, Shiva is reciprocating, mm, telling that yeah, it's true, but you should not go to such a person's house who's going to find fault and thereby become angry. So this is the position of Shiva. He was not. Prabhupada is explaining. It's not that he was not mentioning this because thinking about the way he treated Daksha treated Shiva. That was not the reason why Shiva is saying these words. He's saying these words because he's foreseeing what is going to happen when Sati goes. So he's trying to protect his wife. And as a Vaishnava, he's protecting another Jiva. Vidya tapo vitta vapurvayah kulaihi tatam gunai षड्भिरसत्तमेतरैः स्मृतौ हतायां भृतमान दुर्दशः स्तब्धा न पश्यन्ति हि धाम भूयसाम्. Yeah, Rohini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dhanavad. Then why didn't Shiva say Parvati Mother that, they're gonna insult him and she's gonna behave and she's gonna leave the body? Just because that's supposed to happen?
You see, leaving the body or not, okay. So okay, I'm only going to speculate here because I don't remember having heard anything or read as an answer to this. But Shiva is, see, just like even Krishna, he's in Bhagavad Gita everywhere. He's just, what should we say? He is giving a warning.
Yes.
Right? He warns people about actions and possible results. See, one thing we should understand that generally on the spiritual platform, there is a lot of okay, let me explain this way. The opportunity for us to express our free will is always given.
Yes, bro.
Right? And many a times, exalted devotees don't like, I've seen many times great Vaishnavas, they're not very verbose in terms of what they say, right? As in sometimes indications are given in terms of the direction of action, but not complete explicit instructions, right? There could be other reasons for this, but I'm just trying to understand or relate to how I've seen great Vaishnavas. Like if there is some situation, they might not really go to the nitty-gritties and give instructions. Right? They give instructions at a little bit higher platform and then expect the ones receiving instructions to kind of, understand, exercise their free will, figure out what needs to be done, etc. Because otherwise, if completely just saying you have to do or you should do this, and see, another actually we should here. Actually, it's an interesting question. Actually, if we go through this whole conversation, Shiva is sufficiently warned Sati.
Yes.
Right? May not be to that exact level of detail or telling exactly what's going to happen, right? But in spite of that, she actually is, so caught up in that attachment towards her parents' house that she just ignores. In fact, eventually one of the verses says she's like a pendulum. She's like moving in and out of the room and angry that Shiva is not allowing her to go. So it is also showing that the attachment was so deep, so strong that possibly it wouldn't have anyway helped. Right? So he's possibly trying to. I mean, again, like I said, I'm just speculating. Just in a way that will possibly that she can maybe understand. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's like I said, it's difficult to guess why Vaishnavas behave the way they behave or why they do what they do.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Sri Hatha Prabhu, especially when it comes to going to your parents' place. Many and oftentimes, even like when in the material world, when your partner tells you don't go, it is not the right time, I say Jaigi. Many times, like I personally had it within me and him also. Like there are many times, and then you say, and like you put forward all the arguments possible, like how Sati is done. कि माँ बाप के घर पे तो जा सकते हैं, like पैदा किए हैं तो क्या है, जोर से बोल लेंगे, like it is the same scene there which carries on in everybody's. I think most of the Mataji sitting there would have undergone something like this in their material life. If I'm not mistaken. The only thing is, we are good lawyers. So ultimately, जाते हैं और okay, Prabhu, Lord Shiva has given her enough and enough of warnings, and he's, very clearly told her that she shouldn't, and ultimately she gives way to her feelings, and she doesn't listen to
Yeah,
Shiva.
the only point I was thinking in Rohini Manta's question was, why didn't Shiva exactly say that this is the end, that it will result in her giving up her body? Why didn't he say that? I think there are, maybe I'm speculating, even astrologers don't reveal if somebody is going to give up their body. So I think
Prabhu.
maybe there might be different reasons why Shiva didn't reveal the exact end that is going to happen, but the seriousness of the situation he highlighted in various ways. But exactly the reason why he didn't say, yeah.
Maybe even
those
like
are the
the
thoughts
lesson Daksha has to be given could be only through this, no, Prabhu. Maybe like
No,
unless
see,
you leave the
Sati would have anyway gone ahead and done what she did. But the
yes.
point is, why didn't he even tell her that, it is such a grave end that she's going to face, right? That I don't have an answer for that. But obviously, because it is the will of the Lord, this would have transpired any which way, irrespective of what the conversation or nature of conversation would have been. Because, yeah, there are so many things connected to
But
this pastime.
but Prabhu, and since he knew that it is going to end like that, he could have also accompanied her. But he knew what is going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Like
mean, he accompanying.
like he could have gone later because he had already being the Lord, he knew what consequences.
No, see,
it would
this is dharma. See, the one more aspect when we have to look at evaluate actions is dharma. No, Shiva it's not. I mean, son-in-law cannot go uninvited to father-in-law's house, right?
Yes.
So there are certain etiquettes also which he's maintaining. But as a daughter, she could do whatever, like what she was saying was right. But he didn't go for obvious reasons. But why he didn't tell her exactly what is going to happen? Yeah, difficult to say, but looks like these are one or two things that are coming to my mind.
Like
Okay.
Prabhuji, like then I just want, though, like I missed the chapters between a question, like you said, the son-in-law should not go to the father-in-law's uninvited.
Yeah.
Shivji as a son-in-law should have paid obeisances to it. He was in a trance, yes, fine. So the anger of Daksha to some extent was right, was a little right now. So as a son-in-law, Shivji should have paid. No, I'm not saying as a demigod or something. Like, but as son-in-law pays his respect to the father-in-law.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
here he
possible.
was in a trance. Yes, he was in a trance. I understand that, and his position was also higher. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that light, that spark.
Yeah, actually, Shiva showed respect on the spiritual platform.
Yes.
And see, the one more, actually, a lot of things actually come out when we start discussing. Like Vaishnavas don't act in such a way to, should we say, to provoke material people, right? People who are on the material platform. Now, Shiva going in front of Daksha again would have resulted in Daksha getting further angry, right? And possibly that's another reason why Shiva did not want to go in front of Daksha again. So multiple things can be attributed to Shiva's not going. Yeah. So.
Hare Krishna. One second.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I don't know whether Bhagavatam is connected or not. In Tulsidas Ramayana it is connected this incident as when after Sita abducted by Ravana, that Lord Rama was searching and he was crying. Then they were Lord Shankar and Parvati Sati was going there, and then she got bewildered. She said, "You are telling, you always say Ram is Lord and Kanam, you always worship him. And he is not Lord, he is kind of for his ordinary, like an ordinary person, like a lady who Kanam is crying like this actually." Then she said, "I want to test him." Lord says, "Okay, it's up to you, Kanam." She said, "Don't test him, Kanam," but she said, "No, I want to test."
Okay.
Then she changes herself as a Sita. And she goes and from Kailash she goes to and test her. As soon as Lord Ram saw her, she said, Mate, how you can in this Kenam actually. She can understand, she comes back. And when she comes back, Shiva starts smiling. He said, what happened? No, I came back. She again lies also to husband actually. I didn't test it or something. So again, that was again, she had done two aparadhs. First of the, she came as a mother, she became. Because Lord Shiva's Sita is as mother. She take a roop of mother. So he said, I can't keep. He decided I can't keep her because he has taken a roop of mother. And the second offense is that one, she comes back and lies to husband actually. That you are lying to me actually. That these were the also reason to leave her actually and allow her to go actually.
Shivji had already abandoned her mentally, and he was in deep trance. And Sati understands that there is a difference of behavior of Lord Shiva towards me. So this was another additional thing for her to go in, to see her parents, and this added fuel to fire for her to jump when Daksha insulted her to leave her body.
Yeah, and these things are very complex.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And this.
Okay. So I think, so what can we conclude? We can conclude that Achintya is just inconceivable to understand these things unless our acharyas reveal the exact details. Which is one of the things that actually when we read other shastras, one thing that comes to my mind is who has actually presented it. Because always these things are so deep to understand that unless devotee, or one of our acharyas have revealed, there could be various interpretations like we are interpreting. So, which is why in the beginning only I said I'm interpreting. So these are all very complex topics, and like Anukul Prabhu Mataji said, there could be other Puranas referring to other incidents, etc. Yeah. So any person like me possibly has limited understanding. So thank you others for also contributing. So Shiva is from looking at him as a Vaishnava, he's trying to help Sati in one way. And like there are always various other reasons why things happen the way they happen. And that is like Prabhu said, that possibly the stronger reason why Sati had to leave Shiva and go.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you.
And it also shows that however exalted a person is, we have to be very careful dealing with the Supreme Lord. Our power should not be misused. And so many things come out, right? Anyway, that was good. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll stop here. We'll continue this tomorrow. Stop here. Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vacha Kalpatarubhya Kripa Sindhya Paridhana Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namah Anta Koti Vaishnavabhyo ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat.